Hi, hope you're having a good day today. Thanks for spending some time with me. We're looking at another exercise from the series of books written by Matt Franke. They're called Taming the Beast, Grooming the Beast, Provoking the Beast, and Releasing the Beast. I'm in the beginning of the process right now. So even though I've been playing for many years, I won't say how many right now, but you can do the math. I find these exercises extremely refreshing and challenging in very, very interesting ways. You can be working on the body. You can be working on your musical mind, on the aesthetics. You can be working on your perception, your ability to sense pitch and time and qualities, musical qualities. And you can be working on your reading, and reading is something that I've never been particularly good at. So today we're looking at expanding intervals exercise number 2. And I think this is one of the most powerful exercises I've come across. I've just started looking at it, so I haven't practiced it very much. So this is not a performance. This is me practicing as usual. And I hope that you get some benefit out of it and maybe some inspiration for your own practice. What some of you may see is that this is a very dedicated process, and it has to be pursued doggedly over a long period of time so that eventually we see fruit. And I was just talking to one of my students this afternoon who's a jazz player, primarily, improvisational artist. And we were talking about cultivation. So that's what we're doing here. What are we cultivating? Well, in this case, there are lots of issues on this simple little exercise. Let me just point out a few things that I think are interesting. I'll play a couple of them and you'll get the idea. So each line is based on a different interval. So the first interval that we do is major seconds. Okay, so I might take that a little slower, and I can be working on a multitude of things, but I can't do them all at once. So I'm just trying to get flow going right now. So I'm listening to the sound, I'm listening to the flow. So I'm gonna do another one and see how that one works. This is on minor thirds. Whoa, this is really good for my airflow. Now, if you're manipulating all the notes, if you're trying to keep control, if you're trying to play in tune, you can be creating some tension that keeps you from releasing the air freely. And one of the things that I've noticed is when many trumpet players play in the low register, they compensate for the fact that they're overblowing. In other words, they're trying to push too much air, or they're pushing the air too hard for the low register. And as a result, the opening in the lip, the aperture opens up more, and when the aperture opens up, the airspeed drops, and now the note goes flat. So I recognize that it's challenging between registers to keep the octaves in tune. You see this when you play a lot of Beethoven or any classical music. You have to be playing your octaves in tune, because that's basically all you got. Octaves, fifths, occasional fourths, and an amazing third every now and then. So you're playing the bugle tones all the time, and you only have 4 or 5 notes to be concerned about, so they better be in tune. In this case, we have a lot of notes to be concerned about. They're at very strange sounding intervals in an interesting pattern. And one thing that I find really annoying is that there are flat accidentals and sharp accidentals, and they're all mixed up together. So this is really great for straining your brain to actually read what's on the page. I'm not very good at that. As you can see, I'm struggling a little bit with it today. And that's okay. The struggle is growth. So how do we work on it? Well, I might work the finger pattern alone. Not quite alone. I'm going to work the finger pattern. Let me play another one here. This is on perfect fourths. So I'm stumbling a little bit, and I'll just give you some advice. It's okay to stumble. It's going to happen. But you want to be practicing in such a way that if you keep stumbling, especially in the same ways or in the same places in the musical pattern, you want to address that immediately. That means the pattern is not correct in your mind. So often what I'll do, and I mentioned this on many other episodes, is I'm trying to hear the intervals, connect the fingering to the pitch. You can do this by buzzing. Now that requires that you're able to hear the exact intervals. That's really the point of the exercise. It's a tremendous ear training exercise. So how do you practice that? Very carefully. Probably what James Stamp would have you do is sit down at the piano and play it, and then play along with it. So that's going to be a really important thing for you to do. Buzz, play it with a piano. So you're matching pitch. Buzz, play it with a drone. Listen for the interval relationships. Now obviously this is work, but it can be fun if you're making progress, and fun when it's going from stumbling and having difficulty to feeling comfortable, and that what you're doing is easy. So you notice I haven't played anything very quickly, and these are marked in cut time, and also with a repeat, and I haven't been playing the repeats. And that's because I'm not playing them fast enough to avoid running out of air, at least in this register, when I play through twice. It's a good thing to try and do. I use these as actually as a breath coordination exercise. So I play trying to notice when it's the right time to breathe, and then I breathe and quickly back in. So then I'm focusing my attention on my breathing. Now, what is so useful about this kind of exercise is there's so many different kinds of demands. We mentioned the ear demand. We mentioned the fingers, which are very challenging on some of these. We mentioned the fluid connection between the notes. And now we're talking about speed. Well, and what about just plain old accuracy? Am I playing the right notes? All those things are critical, and yet when you're stumbling, you're probably trying to concentrate on all of them at the same time, and that's not going to work. So a lot of times I'll play on something like this. I'll see if I can hear it first. So I might whistle it. I don't know if I can even do that, but let's see. So this is on fifths. Now here's the question. Am I still on the right note? Oh, good, I am. I thought I was, but see, you need to test yourself this way. Now, if you can't stay connected to a bass pitch in your mind, use a drone or play with the piano, as I just mentioned. You're trying to cultivate the ability to remember the pitch. You're trying to cultivate the ability to remember and taste the interval relationships. This takes time, and it's not just trumpet work, as you can see. Whistling, singing, excuse me, I'm not in good voice today, as you can hear, but I'm going to try and produce that sound in some way that I'm not relying on vowels to do it. Then as soon as I have that, Say, I knew I made a mistake. So I'll go back and what was the note? Now I'm connecting the sound and the fingering and the interval relationships and the line all in one thing. Now granted, this is a repetitive pattern. It's something that you can recognize after a while. So what I'm trying to do, and I've just started in the process, is memorize these. Once I get something memorized, once I get one of them memorized, I'll go back and play it backwards. Now that completely throws a wrench in the works because I've memorized the pattern in one direction and now I'm turning it around and yeah, it's the same pattern, but it doesn't feel the same. My brain goes like, what is that? So that kind of challenge I find particularly important. The key is to challenge yourself with one thing at a time. So if you can sing it easily, do that. If you can whistle it easily, do that. If you can buzz it on the mouthpiece, but it's difficult, maybe you shouldn't do that because that's adding an extra layer of difficulty. And that's the whole thing about practicing these exercises, is you're trying to build something. Let me try one more. I should do this one because it's diminished fifth, which is the devil's interval, right? So here we go. You'll probably recognize the interval. So I like to go fast, but clearly I'm not ready to go fast on these exercises yet. That's something to aspire to. So you can practice your scales. Do that. You can practice your arpeggios. Great. You can practice the Clark studies or any other patterns that allow you to play as if you're playing a long tone, but you're playing a musical pattern. So many drills are like that, and that's one of the reasons why I find this so valuable. For me, the essential skill is flowing the air evenly, supporting the air so no matter what happens with it, with the resistance, it's even and flowing straight through. Trying to use as little engagement with manipulating with my embouchure. Just keep the kind of whistling posture and see how relaxed I can keep the aperture. How do I know if those things are happening? Just by listening to the sound. So once this pattern is memorized, it's a tremendous sound and flow exercise. The fact that the intervals are getting bigger is also very helpful. So by the time you get to the end, let me be brave and look at some that I have not spent time with. Oh yeah, let's go to the end. I'll play a couple more for you and indulge myself. I need the practice, so sometimes making these videos is the only practice time I get. So here we're going to do major sevenths. Interesting. Maybe I'll try another one. The octaves look tempting. Now here, where you're changing such a large interval, if you worked all the way through the exercise, and this is something else I want to point out about these exercises. I've forgotten to mention this so far, and it's really important. Mr. Franke writes at the beginning of each exercise, up in the upper left-hand corner, run time when mastered. So when I have these memorized, when I can play them fluently, when I'm playing them in cut time, at a faster tempo, I can go through the whole series exactly as it's written in 11 minutes, supposedly. Depends on how fast I play it, obviously. Now, when you're doing that, you don't have time to manage all the details. You're not doing this kind of meticulous practice that I'm talking about. But in order to be able to do that, that's great. When you get to that point where you can just run, now you have a chance to keep your balance, make your corrections on the fly, make sure that you're paying attention to the fundamental things and that you're refining your coordination. but you can't consciously, you're not trying to consciously control your playing anymore. The danger is this: once you get it memorized and you're getting pretty good at it, now the pattern is automatic, and now you can drift away mentally. You can kind of let down your how intentional you're being in playing this music, and that's the last thing that you want to do. You want to stay that you're doing everything on purpose. So I'm going to try and play these octaves on purpose, and I'll give you a couple practice tips and let you go practice. A little tight. Let me loosen up a little bit. So now I'm going a little faster than I can control. And as a result, I'm starting to tighten up. A little bit extra pressure. I can feel my throat starting to tighten up. Go back, get loose. One of the primary ways I do that is to sustain, or I might play a group. So I'll give you this pattern. Don't take this as biblical instruction. This is simply a suggestion which you can try and then invent your own patterns. But it's a pattern where I'm stabilizing before I go on and releasing tension. It's a very, very powerful technique. For me, it works tremendously well. So what's happening is I'm sustaining the note. I'm letting go. I'm releasing. I'm letting go of the tension that builds up when I'm trying to play accurately. And let myself come back into the place where the note is resonant, where it's vibrating by itself, in a sense. And I'm always playing to someplace. I'm always getting ready for the next thing. So I'm not just holding the note, I'm sustaining it and getting ready to go to the next note. That's what these interval exercises are so great for. So where I paused was where I would pause, because that's where I have the most problem, is keeping the pitch and the openness and the ease of the sound in the upper register. And that's where most trumpet players are going to have problems. But if you work on this exercise diligently, as I hope to do, then I can pretty much guarantee you, from the taste that I've had of it so far, that you're going to have you're going to see the results in your playing. You're going to become much more fluent, and your playing will get easier, especially playing those wider intervals. But this is an investment. So go out and cultivate the ground, plant the seeds, fertilize and water, come back and pull out the weeds every day, and then you're going to see some very satisfying results in your playing. Everything's going to get more fun. So go practice. I'm going to do the same thing, and I'll catch you later on. Thanks for your patience, and I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.